And welcome to the Two Medics podcast. Just a quick shout out to our sponsors, mah.uk.com for medical accountancy needs, and also to Lifeline Healthcare Group.co.uk for the best locum rates. So hello and welcome to another episode of the Two Medics podcast. My name is Imran Lasker. I am a consultant radiologist and I'm not telling you where I work this week.
Fair enough, yeah. Everyone knows. I was going to say nobody's interested, but they all know.
They all know. Fair enough.
So I'm Thrushikan Wardner. I'm a cardiology registrar, subspecialising in intervention. I'm currently working at the Norfolk and Norwich Hospital University.
How is that? Yeah, it always feels it's not London, so it's far away. Yeah, it's just far away.
It is quite far away. It's far from London. Yeah, it's an hour and a half from London. It's nice. I really like working there. People there are nice.
You must be really excited, right? The line and all that, it completely affects your life, doesn't it? Elizabeth line.
What? How does it affect me?
The tube line.
The tube line to Norwich.
It became like a really big deal. It was all over the news. I was like thinking, yeah, it only affects London. Why is this something that's going thrown everywhere? Like everyone is rabbiting on about it. Anyway, it just shows you how London-centric so much of what we see on BBC and all that is. Anyway, how you been?
There was a tweet. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a tweet about the Jubilee. Do you see that? Where they were like, they didn't have 20 million to feed starving kids during a pandemic, but they've pulled out 1.3 billion. I think that's probably, I don't know if that's an actual number. Or it sounds like made up number, 1.3 billion.
The thing is, it might be because if you think about how much productivity is lost in terms of people not going to work because of the Jubilee, that's going to be quite a lot, isn't it? Right?
Yeah,
sure, it's high.
And whatever it is.
Exactly, yeah.
Whatever it is, it's too much given that they said they didn't have money for starving kids, so I guess.
Mate, the country is. I don't know whether I'm going to lose a whole lot of followers. I've lost a few followers this week. I don't know what that was about, which is fine, not an issue. But I'm not a royal. I don't get the royals. I just don't understand what the big deal is. Like why everyone cares about anything to do with them. Like
really boring.
What do they do exactly? Yeah, they're so boring. And fine, they're rich and they have this nice life. And it's like, well, that's cool, man. But like, why does it bother me? I don't really care who's king or queen or rest. I don't know. Someone I'm sure will tweet at me and tell me a whole lot of history. Yeah, fair enough.
I think it'd be way cooler though if it was a bit more Game of Thrones. If Prince Charles and like Prince William and Harry and Meghan, they actually tried to like murder each other and literally just tried to like get on the throne. That I'd be way more invested in that because I'd be like Team Meghan. I'd be like, oh. And people are like, oh, Meghan's like Cersei, but she's not really.
But they've made it, they've dramatized the whole thing, haven't they? So it is like his mini sort of own series of the whole thing, right? The Crown or something. My wife keeps watching that show and she's always going on about it. So,
But really, it's like a whole load of drama about nothing. Like, oh, this person was like, I feel a bit awkward about going to the... Like, it just is really lame. we need more murder. There's not enough murder.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I think we need knives, we need murder, and
If all this money we're paying towards them, just a little bit of murder might...
But this is what I find so bizarre. Like people don't want to pay doctors, they don't want to pay this, they don't want to pay that, but it's all right, pay them. But they offer less than anyone. What is this?
Exactly. Do you see there was like this? Like Prince Charles did some speech, didn't he, about we need to tackle the crisis of poor and basically how awful things are. And he was like literally sitting on the throne and like he had a separate car for his like crown, like part of the problem. But anyway, it's been a week. You're going to go on holiday. You're going on holiday.
I am,
so that's good.
I'm going on Saturday, but what I don't know is a good tip for anyone out there, but I always stay in the hotel right next to the airport that it's connected to. Yeah, it finds a little bit more money, but you just chunk it in with the rest of the cost of the hotel, the holiday, because man, the grief that you don't have when you've got it, in the morning, you got to get up, get the kids ready, get in the car, drive there. Hopefully you get there on time. And now it's just like you wake up in the morning, get changed and just walk down this little like tunnel thing and you're there. It just makes such a big difference. Technically, the holiday starts tomorrow, but I'm actually hopefully flying away on Saturday. So I'm really looking forward. First holiday in 2 years. I hope this goes well, and I finally get to relax. But I don't think I will. I'm taking laptops with me, so what can you do?
It does mean that you might not be on the podcast next week. People can guess maybe if you'll be there, if you won't be there.
Well, let's see. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. I'm going to try. I'll try my best, but you never know. I might end up being busy and think, you know what, Thrusha, I'm sorry, mate, I'm on holiday. We'll see. Just get on with it, mate. Get on with it. But anyway, you were saying something happened to you this week. You wanted to. You were like, I want to talk about something.
Yeah. So I was the ward reg this week, and it's been tough, man. Essentially, it's kind of a bit like a throwback to being like an SHO ward jobs. discharge letters, which is terrible. Like, I'm so terrible at discharge. Like, literally, the poor pharmacist is like phoning me up after every single discharge letter, being like, "Yeah, you've got this thing wrong." I'm like, "Oh, me again." I'm so terrible. But anyway, whatever. I need to learn. I need to learn. But so my phone was literally going off the hook, like literally just getting calls about absolutely everything, and to a point where it's just like rinsing my battery. And so I was walking through this ward, and I saw that there was a phone on charge, and I thought, "Oh, I'll quickly like switch batteries around." And we're good to go. So I switched the batteries around. I've got full battery, just like walking up to my office, close the door, and literally this like Karen type just like bursts in. I was like, "Excuse me," and I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "This battery that you've put in this phone doesn't work." It does work, and she's like, "Can you swap the battery? We need this phone." And I was like, "Okay." I literally just swapped it because I've got like a meeting, but the battery does anyway. And I handed it back to her, but she had this look on her face, like I'd basically as if I'd stolen a loaf of bread or something. I felt like Aladdin, and she was like, she was going to chop off my hand, and it was really bizarre. But like the indignation, she looked really angry with me, like because I'd swapped batteries around to that phone that was in a charging dock with full battery.
It's amazing what people get irate about, don't you think? I wonder if you really ask that person, let's take a step back from the situation. Let's have a look what's happened there. We're talking about a battery in a phone, yeah? Are we really going to have an argument about battery in a phone?
She ran after me.
Wow.
So, So the funny thing is, though, she didn't realise that 2 days before I'd done the same thing. I saw the batteries on. So actually, the battery that I put there was me returning the original battery back. So I don't know, but I guess it's like,
and obviously, we're making a bit of an assumption here, but do you think that she might have thought that you're a bit arrogant? You fit in that stereotype of an arrogant doctor. You've come in, you've walked in, you've taken what you need to go, and that's it.
I am arrogant, yeah.
No, I'm alluding to Mehul's tweet, actually. Mehul's tweet was this week, wasn't it? And he was really going on about, I think there was someone who retweeted a question, I think it was, and an answer about how to be helpful to colleagues. And it was a very weird thing to say. It was like, be willing to play part in the whole team. You are less likely to annoy any colleagues who might think you're acting above your level. In some instance, bullying behavior has been avoided or eradicated simply by taking turns at making the tea with the nursing staff. And that kind of riled up Mehul. He says he's got opinions, and he needs to share those opinions, doesn't he? And so he's clearly sharing his opinion. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with him on this one, because I think the implication there is that the position that you're taking as a medic is that people are going to assume you're a wanker. That's the default take. So you need to go out of your way to prove that you're humble or down to earth or whatever, so that people will give you the benefit of the doubt. His response is, "This is absolutely astonishing. Imagine a training module for nurses which said the same thing, but about their working relationship with doctors. This absolute obsession that every doctor is an arrogant piece of shit needs to be put in their place." And it's true. I feel like there is a bit of that, isn't there? I guess that first impressions are really important, aren't they? And of course, there are people who are obviously not very nice, and they're kind of bullies, and it just seems really a peculiar thing to say. Take turns making the tea with the nursing staff. I like that whole thing, like, oh, you should, when you're a medical student, you should take cake with you because people are much more likely to engage with you. Like, why can't people just give you the benefit of the doubt when they first meet you? Yeah. But there you go. That's what you got to do.
It's the thing is that people get really riled up at these question banks, but when you actually go behind the question bank and who is making the question bank, what you'll notice is that these people anyone can write questions and they get paid for it. And so there's no real authority behind these question banks. I know we can get annoyed by it, but when you see question banks, usually they're so profitable. But actually, having said that, I've just noticed that this is not a normal question bank. This looks like actually a training module on an actual hospital computer, like intranet. Yeah. So actually that completely negates what I've said. This looks like an issue because it maybe seems as though it's a problem across hospital, without implying that all doctors are arrogant and need to just sit down and make some tea sometimes, because that's important, which it may be, but not part of the deal. But speaking of an arrogant doctor, there was someone as well. Did you see that he was like someone, I think he popped up on Love Island or something, and then since he's left Love Island, he's done a bit of the standard stuff about ending up in the papers and writing all these things. And his big advice was have more fruit and veg. That's what will keep you healthy. Did you see that? Did we talk about this? And
I think we did. I mean, you mentioned that this. I haven't actually seen it. So was he asked a question like, how did the context is probably important, right?
Yeah, so I think he was just giving sort of general health advice in a column somewhere, and then one of the things were like eat fruit and veg, and that riled up Med Twitter because they were like, Yeah.
That's obvious.
That's
All right.
really profound, isn't it? And that was subsequently subtweeted by our good friend Zach Ferguson, who's been on fire, man. This is a fire subtweet. He goes, "Drink water, but avoid fire," says Top Dog. Says Top Doctor. That was just genius. And obviously, if you do get to read it, it's a really funny tweet from Zach.
The best bit I don't really get is for medical registrar and daffodil enthusiast. Why is he a daffodil enthusiast?
I think the point is that the person's qualifications in terms of giving medical advice, so that he was on TV once. That's what it is, isn't it? That's what most of the time.
I like it.
It always makes me wonder about a bigger topic here. I know I rant sometimes on this podcast, but this is the point of the podcast. I get to rant. So I always find it really weird when you're reading these articles about, let's say, Dr. Such and Such ends up on Love Island, right? And now he's a famous influencer. They'll say this phrase that keeps popping up in life. I don't know if you can relate to me on this one. They say, let's say, Thrusha he found fame and such, as if we're all looking for fame. That's what we found, and they finally found it. That's the promised land. I just find that really weird, and I just find that keep coming up again and again. They found fame, and now this particular doctor, I'm not going to name him because I don't want people to pile on them, and it's not hard to find them if you want to find them. But they found fame, and now they're on TV, and now they're on doing all this stuff. They're doing the circuit and offering their very good advice of eating fruit and veg.
Who would have thought of that?
Yeah, wow. Exactly. It's a bit like when you're about to... I remember when I used to play rugby for school, and then my parents were always really worried about me. They're always worried that I was going to get busted. And I did get busted, but they always say, try not to hurt yourself. Like,
be careful.
Thanks. I never thought of that. That didn't make any... Never thought of that at all.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I shall turn up the careful dial. Like, I always find that funny when people say that.
No, don't tackle me. My parents said to be careful. Don't tackle me. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. Speaking of columnists, did you see the other columnist this week that ended up in a bit of trouble? Did you have a run-in with them as well?
Me? About Alison?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Nah, she didn't do anything to me. I don't think she even blocked me. I'm not important enough. One of my favourite things to do is when someone writes something stupid is to just refashion their tweet just to show them how stupid they're being. But she didn't even
did you do that today? You might have done. It was quite a long tweet, yeah. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, I did do that today. But anyway, we won't talk about him again. But Alison Pearson, she's just horrible. And she's works for the Tory Graph, and she just, I think what tends to happen is if there's people, if you need to do a hit piece on someone, then she's your hack journalist to do it.
I was worried what you were going to say, but good, thank you.
I changed my mind at the last minute. There you go. But she's just horrible. And she's just talking about the sarcasm about burnt out doctors and working from home or whatever and blah.
Yeah,
she's just really boring and dull. So I've definitely muted her. So unfortunately she ended up on my feed because Silver had tweeted at her, but I'm very happy to not talk about her. Yeah, so God. Yeah. But there was another, so more recently, there was something funny and I thought hurtful. Richard Bacon, a Conservative MP, says that NHS staff need to let their hair down. And I feel like this might be in response to like Boris Johnson having loads of parties and stuff. And they keep saying, like nurses having a drink at the end of their shift, like that ever happened. But it's just, I think it's hurtful because of the hair down thing, but also because the fact that the Tories are having parties all the time.
It's just amazing. That whole situation is just absolutely amazing. But it's this what I keep thinking, like, what do you expect? I think your expectations are so low that this doesn't even surprise. You know, when I saw it, it's not, no, you didn't. It's, okay, yeah, fair enough. I expected photos to stamp at some point.
My in-laws are Tories. And when people talk about like voting for the Tories and then they go, but Jeremy Corbyn, but Keir Starmer, he had a party. And so now I've decided that the best way to approach this is just to come back with absolute sarcasm. And I saw this comedy line where someone was like, yeah, I used to hate the Tories. And now I figured because now I'm earning some more money, I think I might actually start voting Tory because I don't want to pay taxes. The money that I earn, I don't want to give it to anyone else. I don't want my money to be like taxed away and spent on hospitals or schools or people who are less fortunate than I. Yeah, exactly.
A duck house and whatever expenses they pull through.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want it to be spent on other people less fortunate than myself. So I want to keep it to myself. And he just says it in this like really nice, sarcastic way.
Yeah, I know. I can see the temptation, and I know of people that literally think of that way, have thought that way. They start making more, and they started thinking like that, which fair enough. This is when I always think that you don't know what you're going to do until you're in that situation, and fair enough. Like now, they know what they do in that situation, and money was actually more important. Less taxation, etc., etc. Actually, I've got a good friend of mine that I like to wind up a lot, and I think the other day I was jokingly saying to him that you just don't get it. What's the big deal about the Tories? And they're trying to cut tax for the rich, and I was like, okay, so, but then that's good, right? I don't want the Tories to get more money. So the answer is to make more money. Is that what you're saying? No, that's not what I'm saying. So what are you saying? Because are you telling me to pay tax or not pay tax? No, you should pay tax. Like, okay, so you want me to pay tax, but then it goes to the Tories' own pockets, doesn't it? So should I pay tax or not pay tax? And he was getting completely like bamboozled. Like, I don't know what to say to you. Well, I don't know what to say to you. And I'm just chilling, just relax. I'm just whining you. I'm sorry.
You're a
I'm just
bad friend. You're a
playing
bad
around.
friend.
I know. I am a bad friend. Yeah,
One
as
day
you know
he's
for
gonna
sure.
stroke out and.
It's going to just not compute and then just like, no, you took it too far. You took it too far. Yeah. Speaking about taking it too far, this GMC thing that popped up this week,
Oh,
I told Rabi about it and she didn't really, I don't think she really believed it. She's like, seriously. Yeah. Do you want to tell us about that?
There are a few things like you could be talking about so many different things.
Yeah, that's true. That's how bad the situation's got. The one thing that I was telling her about was actually the laptop situation.
Yeah.
I was just completely flabbergasted, in truth.
I still don't really get it. So, like, basically, there's an Asian doctor, Manjula Arora, who I think had requested a work laptop and had a conversation about it, and then was like following up with another telephone call where she was basically used the words, "I was promised a laptop," and that was what she was really like hauled up upon, the use of the word "promised," because apparently it's like misleading. Which seems like a really bizarre thing to be like hauled before the GMC for, especially for someone who's an international graduate for whom nuance might be lost. But also, it is probably something that you could use as a kind of slip of the tongue anyway. Anyway, I think there are lots of other issues, like lots of other ulterior motives for why she was referred to the GMC, because she was referred by some outside provider, I think, and there was an issue with her kind of suggesting that the service was like minimized and perhaps the referrals of retribution. I don't really know. But the main issue, I think, was the fact that the GMC saw this as an area for concern and placed sanctions and stuff. And loads of people were saying, this is just racism. Like, why are they... why are they so strict and clamping down on this when there are, plenty of people who are sexual harassers? And I think we talked about it some time ago. Some like surgeon who'd like crawled through the window of like his F1 or something, and they were given the benefit of the doubt. And it's like, what the hell's going on here? You clamp down on language, but not this disgusting behavior. It's completely inconsistent. People are rightly saying maybe it's because she's a woman and because she's of color. That they seem to come down like a ton of bricks. But there were so many other things, right? So there was... so what did Rabia say? I'm interested to...
She was just like, no, that can't be for real. And I was a bit like, yeah, that's what happens. But then I have been telling her that, as far as I understand, thankfully, I've had no personal run-ins with the GMC, but from various people that I know who have had run-ins with the GMC, they haven't been very supportive of anyone that brown people, black people. And in fact, so there was an incident where I think so allegedly I know of a situation where someone felt as though someone else is being very Islamophobic. And when you looked at everything, they were being Islamophobic. There was no doubt about it, right? And they were called up on it, and they were kept going down this road of being like, I'm not being Islamophobic. I'm just saying that they were saying about the burqa and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, and so basically, long story short, they did get referred to the GMC, and then the reply that the person got. So what happens is, if you refer someone to the GMC, you get a reply from the GMC telling you like, this is what the outcome was. And so someone who's Muslim referred them to the GMC, and then they got a reply saying, we looked through the tweets and we feel as though it wasn't Islamophobic at all. And you think, hang on, a Muslim person's messaged you guys saying that this is Islamophobic, and you've turned around and said that, they get to tell you that, no, you've misunderstood, it's not Islamophobic, even though
you're offended
and all that
but
stuff.
That was unreasonable.
Yeah, exactly. Good. And so I know that to happen for definite. And so those kind of insider knowledge things, you realize, okay, this is not the kind of organization I want to interact with too much. Just let me practice for as long as I need to practice. I'm not going to get in your way. I'm staying out of this, whatever it is. You feel the same, right? You don't want to be referred to them because immediately you feel like you're on the back foot. Immediately.
Yeah, my name's too long.
Go down well. Exactly.
My name's too long. I need to change my name. But the thing is that they take so much of our money. And then there was another tweet recently, which kind of was a quote of an email whereby people were being encouraged to fill in their GMC survey. And if they didn't, it says, it says, dear trainees, we've been asked by a few of you what to do if you have not completed the GMC survey. Although this is not mandatory, the GMC extended the deadline for this to be completed. We've been informed that you need to complete a reflection of no less than 250 words on why you did not complete this, why it's important to do feedback, and how you make sure you will complete this in the future. This sounds like a school imposition. An imposition.
Is imposition like a public school thing or private school thing? Would you? I don't
Oh,
know. I got a few of those over my time.
did
Actually,
you?
I'll tell you about how I got one. Yeah. So there was one big one I remember. So I think we might have mentioned that we had a certain music teacher that was clearly racist, right? Yeah, he basically said, "You Indian tribe are going to let the class down," and we
Oh
were
yeah.
like, "What?" Yeah,
Yeah,
and
good.
that went around the school a bit. I remember that. But one day, fair enough, like around the music area, I can't remember what it's called, the music area. There was this kind of grassy bit near where all the lake was and stuff. Listen to me talk about school, man. Lake, there you go. Go had a lake, and it was actually more of a pond. What was it? A pond? Anyway, I was walking across the grass, and Mr. Beep called me and said, "Come back here. How dare you walk on the grass? You're gonna go. You're gonna have an imposition. You're gonna be writing an essay to explain why you walk on the grass." But there were two other white guys walking right next to me. I had to, me and the other guy, who was a Slanken guy, yeah, we ended up having to write lines. Yeah, and this is the thing, like, when you think back at it, I'm used to this and I've lived with this. I've always lived with this situation or feeling that I'm probably gonna, if anyone's gonna get called up, it's gonna be me because of what I look like, most likely. If I'm in a room, I'm probably gonna be the one that gets searched. I'm probably the one that's gonna have to sit back on when I'm trying to get somewhere on the airplane. I've been searched so many times in my life, and I'm like one of the. If you actually took a step back, if you got rid of my name and my color, then you'd think this guy is as like vanilla as it gets. Really, I don't do anything. Like I don't even speed. Right, that just doesn't really happen. And even when I did speed, it was like by 1 mile per hour, and I still
You
got
did
pulled up on it.
speed.
Yeah, it was on an average speed, average camera thing, and I got 2 miles per hour over or something like that, and you got done for it. But my point is that I'm pretty vanilla, right? But I've been searched multiple times in my life, multiple. Like I can't remember the number of times. And I lived in North London, and it was in North London when it happened. So when people such as GMC or anyone says, "Oh, stop calling racism," or "This is not fair," or something, it's like, mate, you haven't lived the life that I've lived. I've got a nice life compared to others. Like at least I've got a nice home and a family that looks after me, and etc. etc. I don't have any other struggles. But even me, I've been searched loads of times. That's just the way life is for brown people, black people.
I saw there's a tweet from Shan who was saying, so Shan Hussein, the GMC became a registered charity in 2004, so
I
charities don't
love
have to
those.
pay income tax,
I love that. But
corporation
then
tax,
we yeah,
capital
yeah,
gains
yeah.
tax, or stamp duty. As a result, they obtained tax relief backdated to 1994. In 2014, their account showed reserves of 68 million. Who regulates the regulators? What a game! What a game! We need to be getting in the GMC game. We need to
Mate,
be. Why don't we
genuinely,
become? Yeah,
genuinely.
we need to become a different type of regulator. And we reckon.
I no, I was thinking about something else. Yeah, sorry. No, I'll move on
Go
from
on.
that. Yeah. No, I was thinking, really? Maybe I should somehow become a charity. Should I do that? Is that what I should be doing? Have I
Yeah,
missed the
regulate
trick here?
people. Spell out regulate.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll
Yeah,
call you
maybe
up
we should be
because
we should become the two medics
regulator.
Twitter regulators and then just become a
Yeah,
charity. And then,
we're
I
to
don't know,
undercut the
we'll look after
GMC.
68 millions.
Yeah, no, we'll undercut the GMC. We won't do any racisms. We'll just avoid being racist.
We'll just talk about you on the podcast. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, exactly. We'll
Every
moan
week.
about you on the podcast and like harass us and stuff. Well, obviously you're not going to get registration with it. You're just like the basics. Just keep the basics. No racism, less of a fee, and
Yeah.
we'll do a little newsletter. That'll be nice. And we'll give you like social media guidelines. So you'll be great at that. And then if you copy us in, you might talk about it on the podcast. That'd be amazing. Yeah, a great idea.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. The two medics governing body of the governing body. Yeah, our school was a charity. Wasn't our school a charity? It said charity number something on the letters.
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Private
It's a
schools
game. It's a
often
big
are,
game they all
cheeky.
play.
Yeah.
It's a big game they all play to avoid all of these things. Because when you look at like capital, let's look at capital gains tax. No, corporation tax. That's 20%. So when these companies are bringing in 20%, mate, is a lot of money that's going to go out to the taxman. So they're doing everything they can, every little game under the sun they're going to play. And it's what I mean. It's what we say often on the podcast: follow the money, and you'll find out why they're doing it. And this is exactly why they're doing it. It's not about charity at all. It's about money.
I wanted to ask though, okay, too much, but like there was a good tweet from Pete Olusoga, and he was quoting an article in The Independent which says, when you say you shouldn't teach kids about racism, you forget that young black kids and kids of colour have to learn about racism. There's no choice in the matter. This is about an 11-year-old boy who's basically being bullied relentlessly,
sad,
and bless him, he's like fleeing from these bullies and then caught his hand on a fence and ends up losing his finger. Bless him, this little sausage. But I just it did make me wonder though, is that something, is like racism something you approach with your children?
No, and it's something that as in, it makes me feel sad when I think about it. I think we may have spoken to each other on a personal level about this at some point. Like I jokingly said that just being the demographic that they are, they're going to have to work a little bit harder to get to where they want to get to. It's just the odds are stacked against them
Have
from the
you
outset.
have you
Mm.
told them that, or do you think you'll
No,
tell
at the
them?
moment, I've not broached that thing because they seem quite innocent. They don't know about this stuff. There's not really crossing their mind that someone is this color and that color. It's a really wonderful thing to see. And I don't know whether, I'm sure it will come up at some point in life, and it'd be sad when it does. I guess we had very different background. We have very different backgrounds already, right? Because my dad ran a restaurant, right? So he was always
Hmm.
telling me about what people are saying to him, tell him to go
Uh,
home and all this kind of stuff. And because he used to run a kebab shop, as you remember, and so
yeah, yeah.
a lot of post football people used to turn up and they just shout racism at him and tell him to get lost and get out of the country and things. So he used to tell me all this stuff. So I grew up knowing that there was an undertone, but I'm not sure my kids do because I
Yeah.
don't have. I mean, my stories are very tame compared to what my father went through. They're
Mm.
not worth really talking about when you compare to what he went through in the 80s and the 90s. I'm sure your dad went through a lot in the 80s and 90s. I mean, it's
Mm.
incomparable. And so, therefore, I don't think it's such a defining feature of my life anymore, the way it was for him. It does hinder my life. And I do think that some things may have been easier. I'm sure some things
Yeah.
have been easier for you as well.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Definitely.
you make do
I
with
think
what you
like,
got, right?
I
Yeah.
think the problem now, and I think even if you try and broach it as a topic amongst like anyone really, because it's less
Mm,
overt and because there are structural issues, though, it's much harder to call out because it's more insidious. But
mm.
I have tried to talk about it with Lils. I remember like once when she drew a picture of the two of us and she coloured me in brown and she was like pink. So I remember being like, oh,
Kind
that's
of cute.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's interesting that like I'm brown and stuff. And but the thing is that whenever I try and talk to her about it, like I think I must put on a voice or something because I can see like her eyes glaze over and then she'll just
Mm.
carry on a conversation about something completely different. And I'm like, Lils, I've just like been talking to you about something important, and she's just like, but I want to talk about pancakes. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So it doesn't quite
Yeah,
work.
I don't know when the right age is. My assumption is that they're going to face it at some point, and I don't know what my daughter will choose in her life. And obviously, we're Muslim background, and my wife wears a headscarf, and my sister wears a headscarf, and my grandmother does, and her basically whole family
Grandpa,
of
yeah,
women on our side pretty much wear headscarves. So I think the odds are probably going towards her likely to wear a headscarf at some point, right? I don't really have any feeling either way. It's up to her what she gets up to. But if she does do that, also know that it will come with its challenges. And
yeah,
I know that my sister, for example, told me that when she started wearing a headscarf, I don't even remember my sister. She didn't wear a headscarf before in Habs. She was in Habs as well,
yeah.
and then she didn't wear a headscarf for at least 3 or 4 years into uni. But she told me that when she started wearing a headscarf, she suddenly lost a lot of friends. Like suddenly people
Uh,
weren't talking to her as much. And I think one day she was really sad about it. And I sat down and I was talking to her, and then she was like, I don't understand. All that's happened is I wore a headscarf and this has happened. And I said to her, listen, if people are not going to be your friends because you wear a headscarf, then they weren't your friends in the first place. That's the truth of the matter. There was something else. Maybe they thought you were pretty. Maybe they thought there were other things about you. You look cool. And now they don't think you look cool. And those are the friends you don't want. You need to move
yeah,
on and just get over it and stuff. So not get over it, but this is not something to really lose too much heart over. I think that if you're doing it for the right reasons, and you go ahead and do it. And it's difficult, mate. I don't know. I'm sure they're going to face it at some point in life. I hope your kids don't. I don't know because they look, yeah, like you said, they're
pink.
lighter than you are. Yeah, they're pink.
Yeah,
So one would
but
hope,
then
apart from their surname,
a
they
surname.
may not have to face similar issues, right? Maybe you could get them to shorten their name to Guns and air
Yeah,
on Guns.
but then they'd be like, where are you really from? Where are you really?
Interestingly, my brother-in-law's parents, so his surname is Dawood, and I noticed that
Mm.
his parents' name was Davids, and I asked them
Mm.
why, and it's because of racism. It was
Yeah,
genuine
fair.
because they wanted to get big jobs and get big places, and they did, thankfully. But they called
Mm.
themselves Davids, and to this day their surname is Davids, but actually it's Dawood. But they got the Arabic and made it more kind of anglicized to be more appropriate
Ah,
to the areas they're trying to get into. So it's affected generations, man, and people. I
yeah.
don't know. People really, I don't feel really understand that the generations of us that have to go through this. Speaking of generations of
Anyway.
racism, sorry, there was something that came up in our list, didn't it? It was
God, this guy,
oh,
he's like
this
obsessed.
yeah, go
So his
for it. Yeah.
name's Stanley Goldfarb, and
Mm,
I think he's basically convinced that kind of people of color are stupid. I guess
mm,
that's the he's not saying it out loud, but that's essentially the implication. Because
mm,
there was a paper that talks about, so the paper is about the association between resident race and ethnicity and achievements, and the people of color score lower. And the conclusions from the study are that's due to lack of support, biases towards them, that kind of thing. And it's like maybe it's not those things. Maybe they just don't perform as well. And
yeah.
this prick basically just keeps saying that same stuff again. Like, he's just a prick. Absolute
Yeah.
prick. And he's an old git as well, so he's been around for a really long time, and I think he's been like head of a medical school. So this guy, with his pernicious ideas, has been around for absolute age. And that's why I tweeted about dinosaurs, because he looks like 400 years old. It's like Lizard Man, and
It's
he's
sad, isn't it?
just absolutely awful. And I can see that he got absolutely rinsed for a recent tweet. And they just like ignored it and just keeps. So this next one is, don't weaken medical residency standards. So there's lots of gaslighting implications there. Yeah, just a crusty old git.
It's one of the situations where they'd be like, oh, but I think he probably taken things at too face value. You have this sort of statistics where they'll say like black kids don't perform well at school. So he's probably the kind of person I look at saying, oh, black kids must be dumb then. That must be it. And it's like, it's really not that simple, man. There's a little bit more behind the reason as to why that could be the situation. And you start delving into socio-demographic imbalances and all that kind of stuff. And then you start to really get to the crux of the issue. It's not to do with innate intelligence at all. It cannot be.
Yeah. But you'd think, though, for a nephrologist who are obsessed with your creatinine goes up and there's 47 different kind of explanations for that raised creatinine, but one treatment, they're obsessed with those irrelevant details. You'd think that this person would be able to see them beyond like one thing, but apparently not. So
yeah, you're going to get cancelled by the nephrologist now. You just said irrelevant details about pretty much their life's work, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure I can guarantee that not a single nephrologist will listen to this. No way.
No, of course not. Yeah, one would hope anyway. We'll see. Should we move on to something a little bit lighthearted? We've gone down the racing thing. Something that made me really giggle. I love this one. Basically, Mehdi Hassan, who is quite out there. I've enjoyed some of his YouTube videos and read a few articles of his, but he tweeted, basically all he said was hero. A 2-year-old orders 31 cheeseburgers after mom leaves phone unlocked. So this makes the news. Genuinely, I was like, this can make the news. Maybe I should leave my phone unlocked around my kid and see what she gets up to, but I don't trust her.
So if you left your phone unlocked, what would your kids buy 31 versions of? What do you reckon?
I don't know, something like unicorns or something.
Unicorns.
The thing is, like, if this kid does to me, if my kid bought burgers, I would literally high five them because I would love to have 31 cheeseburgers. Right? I don't have the guts to go through an order of 31 cheeseburgers because I'd be too worried about what people would think of me. When Rabi was pregnant, right, Rabi had this real, I don't know if Joe had real needs for certain foods, but she needed chips.
Oh, interesting.
So we went to McDonald's and she needed McDonald's chips. We got McDonald's chips and she goes, look, Imran, do you want anything? Because I feel a bit bad that I'm eating these McDonald's chips and you're not having anything. So I thought, you know what? I feel like having some KFC. So I drove out of McDonald's and I went straight to KFC. And when we got to KFC, the guy looked at us and goes, are you serious, mate? And I thought, what do you mean? He goes, McDonald's and KFC on the same day. And I thought, brother, you work in KFC, don't judge me. And he just laughed. Don't worry, mate. What do you want? And then I felt uneasy about ordering the amount of food that I did. But I would love to order 32. Yeah, I know, exactly. Chicken shady, mate. But I would love for someone to order. If anyone would like to order me 32 burgers and accent it into my house, I'd be very grateful indeed. I will plow through those because
would you eat them all?
Waste food.
Yeah, that's true.
That. I don't like to waste food. I eat everything.
Wow. That'd be a sight to see. You'd have a bad tummy afterwards. I think if I left my phone unlocked, I feel like... So Lils has actually done it, not with my phone, but I got her into Ghostbusters, right? She watched Ghostbusters after. She's in it in a big way. So we've got on Amazon Prime, you can watch the original, like the real Ghostbusters cartoon. And
oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I bought the first season for her on Amazon Prime. But the other day I was like, wow, you must have watched this. It's like months gone by. You must have watched this season a couple of times. And I was like, season 4? How did... And then she's obviously just been like, click, Amazon payment through, bosh. It says she's worked her through. I think it was like 8 seasons, but yeah, she's bought herself. But brilliant. I can't be mad at her for watching Ghostbusters. So.
No, fair enough. I'm not sure my kids would know what to do and how to buy things. I think all they'll do is look at actually, I know what they do. They just look at photos themselves. That's what they do.
Right.
Just look at photos themselves and maybe take more photos.
Just like their pops. Yeah. Just like their bubba.
Okay, fine, yeah, fair enough. I didn't say TikTok, I said photos, but yeah.
So I wanted to talk about, there was another thread from Ron Barbosa who was talking about his encore room. Did you see the pictures of it? So he tweeted on
I did,
24th of May. It actually looks...
Don't we all relate to this? Really? Did it look all right to you? I thought it looks pretty cool.
He had a nice view and he had a room, so that's two big ticks, and there was a TV in there and an air conditioning unit. pretty luxury.
Yeah, but look at that. Can you see the clock?
Yeah.
Yeah, the clock was probably from the 70s. That phone is probably from the 80s. It looks
VHS.
like, yeah, that toilet, that shower. I mean, look.
But he
I
has all
looked
those
at that and
things.
thought,
Mate, my encore room is like the Reg office. Is a Reg office
yeah,
with a chair that kind of just slides out, and then I take a sleeping bag and a pillow.
yeah, that's bad, isn't it? Those are the times when I do look at my life and think to myself, how did I get here? All the decisions that I made in my life, and now I'm sleeping on a sofa in a sleeping bag, and then in the dark night in hospital, I've clearly made some bad decisions. That's what I always used to feel like. I hated it. I hated all of that stuff. Like I remember in one of the places I used to work that we had an encore room, and then the consultant actually allowed us to use their office, and then they had this big screen, like packed screen in their office. And I used to sit there and watch Netflix all night. It was the best time. I used to love those encores because you know what it's like when you've got kids and family and stuff, you don't get time to watch Netflix. But when you're at work, like doing the night shift and you're between scans, it was quite nice to catch up and binge and things, plow through like loads of, Breaking Bad I did on. I remember the consultant walked in the next morning, he goes, God, it must have been a tough night. You look knackered, mate. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I wasn't watching Breaking Bad all night. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so the NHS can be a bit, I don't know, can be a bit hit and miss. One of the things I thought was a little bit missed though this week was, I don't know, what is with acronyms and medicine and the NHS? Do you remember this one?
This is awesome. Do you want to read out? So it's so inappropriate poster in the NHS. It was a tweet from Ollie Sims. So assessment of risk, A, skin inspection and care, support surface selection and use, keep your patient moving, incontinence and moisture care, nutrition and hydration management, and giving information. And the acronym is ASKING. Now, whoever made that acronym up knew exactly what they were doing. I'm sorry, but
or maybe they've just thought
skin. You don't need the two S's in there. You don't. So that person knew exactly what they're doing. I don't know how it got through to actually being a poster though. And
this is like one of those times when you're at school, and I think did I tell you about this? Like we're in geography, and then we had to try and draw like a map of a city and the way it expands. And someone draw this really long shaft of the one that's part of the city, and then these two kind of more circular parts of the city at the back. and they put a river going right down the middle of it as well, and then it became this tributaries at the end. And he was all seriousness. He was like, so this is a city and this is the way it expands. And I think the teacher was like, I think we know what's happened here. Thank you for your efforts. Can you please take a seat? I feel like this is one of those situations where someone is, I'm going to take the mic here. And they'd be like, and the letters are A, S, S, K, I, N, G.
Literally, someone's like laminated that. I made it to a poster and put it up, so like nobody's called them out on it.
The fact that you can go all the way, it's just brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, those are little those things you just love. I don't know why I keep talking about school this week. It's really bringing back a lot of memories. I don't know why. Once I was in religious studies, right? We had Reverend. Do you remember the Reverend of school? Do you remember him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he was teaching us, and you imagine like a U-shaped classroom, and he's teaching, and he step forward. So people, he was in front of some people, and in the U-shape, right? And he was talking to us. And meanwhile, one of the guys, he got up. I don't know what was going through his head. He got up and crept up to the board and wrote "I love sex" on the board. And that went. And then he went and sat down, right? And then we're all keeping quiet, don't want to get in trouble. And now you think the Reverend is teaching us about whatever he's teaching us. And this guy's gone and written "I love sex" on the board. And then someone tells him, you can see someone whispering to him, and he went, nodding, nodding. You think, what's he going to do? So he's like, he started creeping up to the board again. And you think, look, you got away with it once. There's no need to do, what are you going to do now? And all he did was put a little arrow, and put "I love," and he put "anal." And then at that point, none of us could take it anymore. We started laughing. Reverend turns around and said, "What on earth are you doing?" And then we're shocked it was written on the board, and sends them out of the classroom.
Oh no! So
I don't understand.
Oh god!
Yeah.
So what punishment did he get for it? Do you know?
I think he got an essay, most likely. I don't know what. Only in a private school could stuff like that. I just can't imagine that happening anywhere else. Do you think?
So
I'll tell you who it was later. I don't think you'd be particularly surprised. But I just couldn't believe it was just the most unexpected thing in the middle of a religious studies class with the Rev there. to write
So
something like
crazy.
that. It's just anyway. Sorry, yeah, I don't know why I keep going on tangents today. Should we pick up a festival since we're here and slightly
Yeah,
going
fair
off on
enough. This is a kind of tame. To be fair, it's tamer than that story. But where's that
no.
festival one? So it's like someone who.
I stay in hotels in and around London for work, and when getting a pint after a day's graft, I have one rule. If the pint is over £6, I'm stealing the glass from my bar at home. If you're robbing me, then I'm robbing you back.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
I wouldn't know. £6 is a lot, is it?
I remember the days when it'd be like £1.50, or like you get a
Wow.
pint for a
Okay.
pound. Yeah, but like
Mm.
London prices, it's ridiculous. I think I remember I was at a conference recently, and I bought around. I literally maybe 3 gin and tonics or something, and it was like I remember
Mm.
them saying like, "Oh, it's £40." I mean, like, sorry. And I remember thinking, like, what have I paid for? And they had, but obviously, I style it out, and I was like, oh, okay, let's have a look at that. Oh, wow, that's how
That
much
doesn't
those drinks
hurt at
cost.
all.
Yeah, it was painful. It was painful. You like
Yeah.
really sip those drinks, but you better savor them. You don't like drop a tiny bit, like and like the ice cubes, you have to chew them. You paid for those as well. They're probably like £5 ice cubes.
Honestly, this
Yeah,
reminds me of the times when I was in A&E, and then you had this patient, and there'll be when you ask for the drinking history and the smoking history, and they used to tell me a number, and okay, cool. Then I literally used to have one mate of mine say, "Listen, mate, is that a lot of units? I don't even know. Is that a lot?" And he goes, "Dude, that's a lot." And I was like, "Okay, thanks, man, thanks." And that was my genuine. I don't know this stuff, man. I've never been. It's never something
never
that
been a boozer.
yeah, I've never been. Yeah, never done that. So I never bought it either. So
Fair enough. Going into the kind of like off kill, this one was quite tickly. It's from Nicoya, and it said, "What never made sense to me was how Hitler thought blue eyes, blonde hair, and tall was a superior race, and he was a short brunette." Like,
mm,
yeah, fair enough. How did he get away with that?
yeah, I don't know, people, man. Mob mentality. I remember this coming up in history. Like it was actually a really complex, lot of circumstances, wasn't it? Like looking for a scapegoat, the economy at the time,
I
him
know,
being a very
literally,
gifted
like,
speaker, all that stuff,
true,
isn't it?
true.
Yeah,
But he'd be literally
yeah.
like, "This is the perfect person," but then he'd be standing there like the little gremlin that you
Yeah,
want.
look, we see
Amazing.
it. Obviously, I'm not saying our PM or anyone is of that level, but yeah, you
Crazy
see them
gremlin.
do
Yeah,
the opposite of what they're saying all the time, isn't it? Like
true.
being honest and all this kind of stuff. I'm speculating. I wonder if you did go to the General Motors Council. I'm not sure things are entirely honest in there. I'm just speculating. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. Follow the money and all that. I'm sure something. I'm sure that 63 million or whatever is not sitting there doing nothing. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway,
So I
yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
ask, I put a tweet in here which kind of formulated a question that I wanted to ask you. So there's a tweet from Tessa
Oh, okay.
Davis, and she
Oh, yeah, I
said,
saw this. Yeah,
yeah, so beginner,
yeah,
put your whole talk into slides and read them.
yeah.
Intermediate, use more images than text. And then
Hmm.
advanced, use one idea per slide. And master is go slide free. What do you think about that?
Mm.
Because you do a lot of
Um, I,
presentations and stuff, don't
I
you?
do, and I actually 100% relate to that. I really do. So yeah, genuinely, when I first started doing teaching session stuff, I felt like a beginner, but I really, in my mind, I really believed that I want to be the best teacher out there. For some reason, I just always liked it, and I wanted to be the best that I could. And as time's gone on, I've noticed my slides get less and less wordy, and
Hmm.
now I prefer to teach without slides. And now I do a bit of YouTube, and I'm actually doing a talk. Actually, I can talk about this. I will be
Hmm.
doing a talk for Radiopedia for the annual conference this year. And I did want to do it without slides. I prefer to do YouTube style with graphics coming in, a few memes flying in and out. And they weren't so keen on that. They wanted me to do the usual kind of slides and talk. But even when I did the recording, I did it slide free from the top of my head. And then I'm going to add the slides later. It just works for me better over time because after a while, you've said the same thing again and again. And you almost picture what you're talking about. And you anticipate the questions are going to come up because you've been there so many times that you don't feel like you need to fall onto any slides. You can pretty much. I don't think I'm amazing, but I'm definitely better than I used to be, and I find that going slide free is actually true. I agree with that. I think
Yeah,
Tessa's
fair enough.
quite good, isn't she? From what we can see, she's
Yeah,
put some very nice, wholesome tweets out and things that you can learn from. I've been quite impressed with her work.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
She seems really wise. She seems really wise.
and I think she runs courses as well, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
From
And she was
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about something else about how there's something that's better than PowerPoint. I was like, what? There's something else? There's loads of stuff, isn't there, really? But
yeah.
do you,
Canva's very good.
Canva, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what she
yeah,
was talking
yeah,
about,
yeah, yeah.
actually.
Yeah, Canva's
Yeah,
excellent
fair.
because you can get really wonderful. They've got pre-made slides, and you just change the pictures and the images and stuff like Canva. And I use a different version of Canva or a bootleg version of it called Crello. And no, it's a different company that runs it
Fair enough.
and stuff. No, I paid for it and stuff like that because I had some
I
deals
paid!
made just
I
go.
paid!
Yeah, I paid my money through my LTD and tax efficient way as possible. But no, I'm just playing around. But yeah, Crello and Canva are excellent resources for making slides and making them more interesting. So I'd highly recommend if anyone is making slides, do use Crello and Canva. Sorry, I don't want to take the attention away from Tess. I think she's far better at teaching this kind of stuff than me on this particular subject. So yeah, anyway.
I mean, I think it's interesting because like it's such a default, isn't it? Just to be like, oh, I'll just use PowerPoint. And I think even just by using something slightly different, people will be like, oh, okay, what's this?
Yeah. But it's more fun, I think, when you don't. And the recent stuff I've been doing, experimenting with memes and graphics and stuff like that, I'll show you actually through at some point. There's a new course I'm working on where it's like the drawings are happening in the background while I'm explaining like facial bone fractures and stuff like that. And I really do think it's far more effective and far more engaging than just doing slides, because we've all been through slides, we've seen slides before. But when something's being drawn in front of you, zoomed in and showed swiveled around and stuff while the person's looking at you and engaging with you, I think that does change the game a bit, and I'm quite excited for whenever that comes out. I'm not trying to plug my own courses, that's not the point of this podcast.
No, it's interesting. So I wanted to talk about this guy called Tech Lead, who apparently was like an ex-Google person, and he basically talked about, he goes, oh, he's deleted it. He's deleted all his tweets, so fair enough. He goes, women shouldn't code, and I trashed their resumes at Google so they could raise families instead. He just sounds like an utter prick, really.
Tech Lead? Is he, what is he, Tech Lead, has he got a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Tech Lead. He's hilarious. Oh, okay, fine. I didn't know he tweeted. I didn't know he was on Twitter. Yeah, I swear he's got like 1 million followers on
He does,
YouTube.
Yeah. He keeps saying,
he's
never judge.
Yeah, he's very deadpan. If you ever watch the videos, but he's very engaging. I don't know what it is about him. He's very deadpan, very engaging, and he just chats and you just leave him on the background and listen.
Sounds like a misogynist. The funny thing is, I respect women in tech more than anyone else. Many women sacrifice family and children for career. This is a choice I would never make myself. To see them make that choice nonetheless is a level of dedication I like. It's just weird.
Virtue signaling and stuff, yeah. If you watch his videos, you could probably imagine that he'd say something silly like that. He just seems like he's probably not quite with it, which is why I think people quite like him. He's quite endearing. Check out his video. Maybe don't after knowing that tweet. But yeah, I know Tech Lead. I've seen him on YouTube a few times.
I just think the funny thing is that, like, literally, like, wasn't coding invented by a woman? Ada Lovelace.
Yeah, I know, isn't it? But I don't think it's the coding per se. He's trying to be all like women shouldn't work and raise families, isn't it? That's what he's trying to
he specifically keeps saying coding.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's weird. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
I've been really getting into this YouTuber recently. What's his name? Nico Something, and he went and saw some like the most racist town in America. Have you seen that? Did you see that?
No.
Maybe I'll send you.
A link to that later. I saw that. I think he interviewed. Did he interview the head of the KKK or something? I saw.
That's right. Yeah. He's hilarious, this kid, man. I've never seen him before. Yeah. And then someone sent me his video. I watched it. He's got like 5.36 million followers, and I think after, you know what YouTube does, like when you watch one video, that person starts to suggest other videos. And I had a video from him, his first Q&A when it was like 4 years ago, and the man, he's a child. He's actually a kid. He looks like he's 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
And the video is brilliant. Like, it's really well put together and really funny and really engaging. I just feel like, I'm just saying he's hilarious, and fair enough. Good on him doing 5.36 million followers and a really fun video of meeting the KKK person. Did you see that? You should watch it. He rips into them and right in front of them, very Ali G-esque.
It's amazing
the way he takes them out. He's done really well there. Impressed with that. Yeah.
I guess we're coming close to time.
Yeah. We had another good tweet from Emily Monet. The two genders, sex pest and body dysmorphia. So it was like it was a baby t-shirt or something. And for the boy, it was lock up your daughters. And for the girl, it was, does this diaper make my butt look big?
It's just awful, isn't it?
Yeah. These t-shirts exist. I don't know. Yeah. What are we trying to do, man, when you've got kids and given this kind of stuff? But yeah, have you seen now that kids have got like these mini camera thing, like selfie camera with a wooden sort of like light thing, if they want to pretend they're taking selfies and doing YouTube videos themselves, but it's all wooden, but it looks like a proper little camera set. When I first saw it, I found it really weird, but I don't know, man. I guess people are seeing their parents with this stuff now these days, and they want to play with it, and they can't play with it, and at least that's something they can do. Changing world out there, man. Really is.
Yeah. Do you see Mehul tweeted today, 9:40? Oh my gosh, hot off the press. So one of the interview questions I prepared for and have been asked is, would you be happy being an average doctor? What would you say? Apparently there is a right answer.
Yeah, I am an average doctor.
So is that how you'd answer an interview?
Oh, in an interview, you have to play the interview game, don't you? It's like, take my
But what is
hand,
the
let's
interview
dance
answer?
around. No, obviously the interview answer is that you're not happy to be an average doctor. You want to try and work to be the best that you can be. You're going to be taking on CPD, going to courses, going to conferences, doing research to try and further your own learning, to try and benefit your patients and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
in reality, you just
that's
want to
being
work in
average.
that place because it's near where you live. That's
Yeah,
the. But isn't that the truth of the matter most of the time? Like when you're going through training, you're getting shoved down around everywhere. And what I remember happened when I was finishing training, people were like, "Where do you want to work?" And I thought, well, "I'm not sure." He goes, "Where do you live?" That was literally the next question. Where do you live? And I
yeah,
said, "Oh, okay, that's interesting. Like, why does that? Why is that anything to do with it?" Because now all of a sudden you can make that call. I want to
yeah,
work where I want to work in the country. I don't want to be running around the world anymore. But yeah, interviews are silly, isn't it? When I did my interview, like no one knew whether I was a good radiologist or a bad radiologist. They knew that I did a nice presentation of the challenges of radiology and the future and where I think it's going to go and how we're all going to be taken over by robots one day and how bleak it all is. Yeah, they didn't know whether I was terrible and going to get discrepancy left, right, and center, which I may or may not do. Um, yeah. Right. And yeah, there wasn't anything else, was there, Thrusha? Was there anything else you wanted to get through?
Any big ones? There's one tweet about a Guardian article, which I think
Mm.
I'd recommend reading. It was on May the 21st, and it said the
Yeah,
title
yeah,
of
I
the
saw
article
that.
is
Yeah.
"When my husband left me, I headed for the kitchen.
Mm.
Here's how comfort food can save the soul." And I think this
Mm.
it definitely like resonates with me because I'm definitely someone who eats a lot when I feel down. Or pretty much any excuse. If I feel ill, I'll eat loads. If I feel down, I eat loads. If I had a hard day, I'll eat loads. And often it's like without pleasure. Like I was just when I saw it, I was like, "What's your? Do you have a specific comfort food?"
Me, no. The thing is, I've done that situation where I try and keep as few junk food things in the house as possible. So when I have a craving, the poor kids, man, I don't think they've got any chocolates left. No, you can't have too many of those. It's bad for you. No, don't have that. And I know in the back of my head, I'm probably gonna eat that later because sometimes you're tired. And now I find myself, I think mainly a big packet of crisps. Yeah, I just love a
Mm.
packet of crisps. I'd have a packet of crisps like 3 or 4 in a day if I could.
What flavor?
Purposely don't keep them around. You're not gonna. I don't know whether I'm gonna lose people again. Knickknacks. I've got nice and spicy.
Oh, yeah, you like
Yeah, I
those?
love
Is that
that.
your
Yeah, I
favorite?
love that. Yeah, it's
Nice.
either that or Monster Munch pickled onion.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, nice.
one of the two. Yeah, I love those two. Those are my
Yeah, fair
go-to.
enough.
What about you?
Comfort food's probably pizza. I'll eat
Oh
any
yeah, that's a
form of
good one.
pizza. I do quite like crisps, but to be honest, anything that's really unhealthy. I love donut.
Oh,
Custard
true.
filled donut would be good.
Oh, you and your
Literally
custard man,
anything.
for God's sake. Yeah.
I love custard. Yeah, yeah. Literally though, the problem is that I just eat. I get to the point where I'm just like putting stuff in my mouth. I'm just like chewing away, and there's no like joy in it. I'm just like eating it because I'm like, I don't know when I can next have this rubbish stuff, so I better eat it now. And long since before, but I'll just be eating and eating. So when I read that article, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. I could see there's
Yeah.
something like procedural about doing it, just chewing it and just thinking about eating.
I always find that when I'm knackered. When I'm knackered is the time when
Yeah,
I'm like really at the brink. That's when I need something like just terrible. And yeah,
yeah,
then I'll end up ordering something and that's it. I'm done. That's the evening. Speaking of eating, I'm going to hopefully be on holiday eating some wonderful food very soon. I
yeah.
really hope
Look
this
forward to
goes
seeing
well.
some of those some pictures. Are you taking any particular books with you?
No, I think yeah, I read really bored, mate. Honestly, you don't want to. So the book I'm reading at the moment or listening to is called. Oh yeah, I told you about this. Be so good.
Oh yeah,
That's the
is it
one.
boring?
No, I'm only in about 2 chapters in, and I don't normally need to stop the book and take notes, but this one I was taking notes on. I really
Oh
was because
wow.
I was like, this stuff is gold. It's
Hmm.
really like gold because it really makes you think about like why it made me think about why I do what I do, like why I do radiology, why I became a doctor, and the difference between what passion is. Like, what is a
Hmm.
passion? And we should talk about that sometime actually, because I think it
Hmm.
is quite the stuff I'm learning now. I wish I knew when I was younger. Maybe I would have
Hmm.
made different decisions or been more forceful in the decisions that I did make in the end. Because it is interesting to think about what qualifies as a passion. And sometimes what you do as a job and you're saying that you're passionate about is not actually passionate at all. You're only
Hmm.
saying because you're good at it. That's it.
So do you
Yeah.
ever read anything just purely, I don't know, for like pleasure or
Fun.
I
Yeah, that
guess?
is fun for
Yeah.
me.
Oh, it's fun. Oh,
No, no,
fair enough.
I genuinely enjoy that stuff. I enjoy stuff like that. Like the last book before that was 100 million offers. That was really interesting about how to price things. How to
Wow.
price things. Yeah, yeah. You're thinking about like yeah, how to yeah price things according to what you're trying to sell. It was really interesting. But this is
Hmm.
stuff I'm into. It just goes to show you what I'm really into. It's not so much the scans, yeah, that kind of stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. How about you? What do you
Cool.
read?
A book called The Five, and so it's by Haley Rubenhold. I can remember the author. And it's basically the stories of the women that were killed by Jack the Ripper. A bit dark. But I think because in general culture, I think people just assume that the women who were killed were prostitutes, but actually weren't. And so it just yeah. Like, and so it just basically talks about them. It talks barely Jack the Ripper barely features in it, but it's really interesting.
That's
actually,
interesting.
Even though at the time it probably would have been considered mundane lives, obviously they all had that in common, and it just reframes it. I think a lot of women from that time they had fewer rights, but interestingly, even at the time, the police just assumed they were prostitutes based on absolutely no evidence. And so this person's gone back and looked over their backgrounds and accounts and stuff. It was really interesting. Before that, I read War Doctor. Remember that guy that you worked with, David Knott? The guy who has a GoPro in his head.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Mate, that book is so good. David
Really?
Knott, War Doctor is so good. It's so good. I thought it was going to be like cheesy or whatever. But he has led a really interesting life. The stuff that he's talking about, like the kind of stuff that he's seen, it's just amazing. And it's hard not to feel inspired kind of way. Like I'm not usually after the kind of goofy, cheesy stuff or whatever, but it is so good. It's really just to see another person's kind of perspective of a completely different life. That there's no way that I could ever have taken the kind of tangent in life that he has done and find the satisfaction from the things that he does. But listening to it, I'm like, what? He'd totally be someone to sit down at dinner and be like, just tell me about like last week. And it's so awesome. Yeah, it's so good. It was read by him. Definitely recommend that.
Really? Okay, I might go check that out once I finish this one. Cool, man.
Cool.
Hopefully I will be around for the next episode.
Yeah.
And as usual, my Twitter, look after yourselves. Try and be nice to each other, man. It's been a bit tough out there. And yeah, let's try not to get cancelled. All right. Bye.
Bye.